Okay. Good morning, guys. Before class, we discussed about HTTP methods. In that HTTP methods, we discussed about post mapping, get mapping, and put mapping. So, in today class, I will complete another HTTP method called delete mapping. And uh, today I will tell another two annotations. That is at the rate request mapping and at the rate response entity class. So these two annotations are very useful. So try to concentrate. Okay, guys, are you able to see my screen? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, in previous class we discussed three HTTP methods, that is post mapping, get mapping, and put mapping. Okay, so no need to worry. Again, tomorrow class I will tell all the CRUD operations. Okay, these are the basic one only. Okay, see, to test the application, which tool we will use? Post mapping. To test the upper application, we will use post mapping. See, first what I did in first I retrieve single bean as a JSON format. Okay. I retrieve single bean as a JSON format. I created one object called student. In that object, I insert one element. Okay. One Surya at the rate gmail.com. Okay. Later, by using this URL, I retrieve this uh, I retrieve this single bean. In which format? In JSON format. I already explained. See, I will run the application. Copy. Chrome. I will paste this URL. See, I will get one. I will retrieve one beans in which format? In JSON format. This is called JSON format. It stores data in key value pairs. And second one is I retrieve multiple beans. Okay, here I retrieve a list of beans in a JSON format as a JSON format. This is the URL. How I retrieve the multiple beans? First, I create an object for student class. In the student class, I insert these three elements. I store these three elements. So I store these three elements. Right? Now I want to retrieve these three elements. Okay, I want to retrieve these three elements. Now see, 1 Surya, 2 Java, 3 Mohan. So like this, we will retrieve three elements in a JSON format. So next one is from next onwards, we will use at the rate path variable. Okay, what is the use of at the rate path variable? The use of at the rate path variable is which is used to bind the method argument and URI template variable. See, these are the URI template variable. URI means uniform resource identifier. This is the method arguments. Student ID. This name is the method argument. So if you want to bind these two elements, that means method argument and URI template variable, then we want to retrieve this data in, yeah, okay. So path variable is used to extract the values from the URL. Okay, path variable is used to extract the values from the URL, but the only thing is here, to extract the values I need to extract ID and name. Okay, so to extract these values I need to bind. Okay, first I need to bind this method argument and this method argument and this URI template variable. Okay, first bind, after that we will retrieve the elements. See, control copy. It's port run on 8080 9090 localhost 9090 students. Okay, ID comma name also we need to give. Surya. See, it will retrieve the all the values. It will retrieve the all the values. Surya@gmail.com. ID one, name Surya, mail surya@gmail.com. Next one is query parameters. Query parameter is also used for same purpose, to extract the values from the URL. But here it will use some query parameters. Query parameters is nothing but a, this query parameter is starts from question mark and separated with and symbol. Okay, starts from question mark and separated with n symbol. This is query parameters. See, ID1 name Java, mail python@gmail.com. So చూడండి, mail python@gmail.com. It will extract this python field. Okay, so next, so from here onwards I started CRUD operations. Okay, so post mapping is nothing but if you want to create any new resource, if you want to create any new resource, then we will use post mapping. See, here we have three fields: get id, get name, get mail. Okay, I want to, from each field I want to assign some value. Okay, see, here get id, get name, get mail. First it will take those three fields. Okay, it will get those three fields. In that fields we are assigning some values. See, first it will getting those three fields. Control copy. So we are assigning values, right? So that's why we will use postman. Next, body raw, select raw. First field is id. Id is 1 comma, second field is name. Name is uh, name is Sandhya. Third one is mail. Then surya@gmail.com. Surya@gmail.com. See, these three values must be same as these values. Okay, స్టూడెంట్ క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాయి కదా, ఐడి నేమ్ మెయిల్, ఈ త్రీ ఫీల్డ్స్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్గా సేమ్గా ఉండాలి. అదర్వైజ్ ఇట్ విల్ త్రోస్ ఏ రన్ టైమ్ ఎర్రర్. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ పోస్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్. సెండ్. సి, 200 okay, we get http response as 200 okay, request successful, the server has responded as required. See, if you did instead of Sandhya we will use Satish. See, one satisurya@gmail.com. Like this, we will create a new resource. What is the use of post map? Post map is used to create a new resource. Post mapping is used to create a new resource. So next one is get
Hello, sir.
put mapping. So if I want to update the data, okay, if I want to update the data, then we will use put mapping. If I want to update the data, then we will use put mapping. See, to update the any data, based on which field we will update. ఓకే సో మనం ఏదైనా డాటా అప్డేట్ చేయాలనుకుంటే వీ నీడ్ వన్ యునిక్ ఫీల్డ్ ఓకే బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దట్ ఫీల్డ్ ఓన్లీ వీ విల్ అప్డేట్ ది రిమైనింగ్ ఫీల్డ్స్ ఓకే సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటి in student class we have three fields: id, name and mail. I want to update this name and mail, okay, based on the unique field. See, ఎక్కడైనా సరే నేమ్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సూర్య ఉంది. ఇన్ సూర్య ఇఫ్ definitely there might be chance to have another సూర్య field, another name, ఓకే సో మనకేంటంటే డెఫినెట్గా ఇంకొక సూర్య అనేది ఎక్కడో ఒక దగ్గర రిపీట్ అవుద్ది. అదే మెయిల్ అనుకోండి, మెయిల్ కూడా surya@gmail.com ఉంది, మళ్ళీ మెయిల్ కూడా surya@gmail.com ఉండొచ్చు. సో బట్ ఐడి అనేది మాత్రం మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ గా సేమ్ డిఫరెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది. సో దట్స్ వై ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు అప్డేట్ ఇన్ ఎనీ రికార్డ్ we will select unique field to update the remaining records. ఓకే ఇక్కడ చూడండి put mapping. So what is the URL for this? http://localhost server runs on port number 9090 update student and 1. This is the URL. This is this URA variable and id is this URA template variable. Change the http method put, no need to give id. Why? Because here we are updating the first record. So if you want to change the entire records, all fields, okay, if you want to change the all fields, then we will use put mapping. Vamsi, next name is vamsi@gmail.com. Send. See, id vamsi, mail vamsi@gmail.com. Here when you update any record, it will show id is 0 only. Okay, why? I will tell in tomorrow class. Okay, why? Because here there is no database there. Okay, it is not storing anywhere, it just updating the record. If you store the anywhere, then it will show the id fields. Okay, this is put mapping. And the last one is delete mapping. So public void or string, okay, public string delete student data. See, based on the field we will delete. For example, delete ఎలా చేస్తారు? You want to delete a specific record, okay, you want to delete a specific record. First of all మీకు రికార్డ్ కి ఫీల్డ్ కి డిఫరెన్స్ తెలుసా? See, this is one table, okay, this is one table. Inside this table we have multiple records. This is one record, this is one record, this is one record, This is one record. This is one record. Okay. See, in this table, this is one record. This is one record. And this is one record. This is RDMS, Relational Database Management System. Next, this is the one field. Okay. This is one field. Here ID, name, mail. See, so this ID field is the one field. Okay, ID, this is the field, and these are the records. ID 1, name Surya, ID 1, name Surya, mail surya@gmail.com. Okay, next, second one is 2. Next, satya@gmail.com. So these are the, see, this one is the record. Okay, this one is the record. This entire row is the one record. This entire row is the one record. So if you want to update the entire row, then we will use put mapping. And this is the one field. This ID is the one field. So this 1 is the one field, 2 is the one field, 3 is the one field. This entire one is column. The entire one is column. Sorry. So if I want to delete this first record, I want to delete this first record. That means what is the unique field of this record? 1. This ID is the unique field of this record. So to delete that ID, what we need to do? We need to do first bind this method argument and URI template variable. To bind method argument and URI template variable, we will use @path variable. So student ID, it return student data deleted successfully. Student data deleted successfully. So we will use which mapping? Delete mapping. Next, for this student slash URI template variable. To first to delete this record, to delete this first ID, we will use @path variable. That's it. stop the code and rerun the code. See, application runs on port number 9090. What is the URL? http double slash localhost 9090 http double slash localhost localhost 9090 student slash 1. So change this mapping, send. Here we get student data deleted successfully. http localhost 9090 compilation comment button. Okay. No. Stop the application and rerun the application. Now send. Student ID correct ఉంది. Delete. See, here I will use int. Int, right? The data type is int, right? That's why you will use int. Now stop the application and rerun the application. Send. See, student data deleted successfully. So now we discussed about post mapping, put mapping, get mapping, and delete mapping. See, once observe these things. Here, what response we get? Here we get the response is 200 OK. Okay, here we get the response is 200 OK. What should I do? This is the HTTP response. Okay, this is the HTTP response. See. So to get the HTTP response, it used at the rate response entity class. Okay, it used at the rate response entity class. See, here we get the 200 OK. That means output is working fine. Before we get 500 internal server. Okay, 500 internal server. That means we are sending some issue is there in server side. Okay, that means we did some minor mistake in the application. So then we get 500 internal server, and before that, if we, instead of delete, if we use any put mapping, then send. See, method not allowed, method not allowed. That means we get 405. If the class is not allowed, that means we get class not found 404. These all are the HTTP status codes. Okay, this 405, 500, 200, 201. These all are the HTTP status codes. Okay. So by using @response entity represent the whole HTTP response. ఇక్కడ చూడండి. This 405 method not allowed. HTTP response will provide this whole HTTP response. Okay, HTTP response entity class. Okay, this response entity is the generic type. This response entity is the generic type. To represent the output, it will use response entity class. Okay, see, response entity represents the whole HTTP response, status code, headers and body. As a result, we can use it to fully configure the HTTP response. If we want to use it, we have to return it from the endpoint. Spring takes care of the rest. Response entity is a generic type. Consequently, we can use any type of the response body. See, response entity is the generic type. That means here we did multiple code. Here we did multiple methods, right? So you want to update, you want to get proper response, then we will use the response entity. See, I will use response entity class to each method, every method. I will use response entity class to every method. Once check those things. Here the return type is student. When we use return type response entity, it's a generic type. In the type we will use student. Next, return response entity dot. Okay, okay, and in that use header. Header is the, I will tell what is header. There are different types of headers are there. We will use mostly custom headers. Custom header. Custom header, and this is the header name, and the value of header is Surya. Value of header is Surya. Next, there is the body. Inside the body, just pass this object name, student. Student. So this is the request. Again, stop the application and rerun the application. Use get mapping. Paste the code. Get. See, one surya@gmail.com. It provide okay. Okay. Here see. Here we provided okay. Okay, in tomorrow class, I will tell all the HTTP status codes and I will explain Spring Boot 3-layer architecture. Okay, next, there is a header section is there. See, custom header Surya. Okay, custom header Surya. Like this, we will apply this custom header in this Postman. Next one is how to retrieve list of students. Okay, to get the response as a list of students, just add the return type as response entity and pass this generic type here. Return response entity dot okay of students. So that's it. See, now we will get the same response. Stop the server and run this application. Students send. Body HTTP localhost 1990 students data. 1990 students data. See, it get 404 not found response, but we need to get list of students. Localhost 9090. Students response entity ये कब जैसा See, we get the list of students ID1, ID2, ID3. 200 is the response, HTTP response. OK is the response entity response. Next, get mapping. Here also same. Response entity, it is a generic type. So use generic inside the parameter, inside the argument. Next, we will pass. See here I didn't created any object. I directly pass in. I created object for student, but here response entity how I will pass means create object for student. Student student equal to student. Okay, new student. After that ID comma name comma surya@gmail.com. Here why I am passing ID comma name. Here see, here we are passing ID as the URI template variable, passing at the rate path variable and at the rate path variable for name field also. So that's why. Student ID. Now return response entity dot OK student. That's it. First create an object. After that, once we create an object, we will return this response entity class. Stop the application and run the application. Surya. Localhost students name Surya. Control copy. See, ID1 surya@gmail.com. 201 is the response. Similarly for request mapping also. For this mapping also. Next, post mapping. See, post mapping means we are creating a new resource. That means created. Created is the separate endpoint. Okay. For that, we need response as 201 created. Okay. So for this also same response entity. Generic is the student. Create an object for or return new response entity pass that object comma HTTP status status dot in this, these all are the different HTTP methods. See, created, accepted, to already reported, bad gateway, bad request, gone, I am used. These all are the HTTP status codes. Not found, not implemented. These all are the HTTP status codes. But those are not useful. Mainly we will use this not in real time also. Okay, not found, gateway timeout, bad request gateway, bad gateway, created, accepted. These 6 annotations only we will use. That's it. Post mapping. Stop the application and run the application. Control copy, Control V, use post. For post, we will use field called ID. Beautify. Send. See, here 201 created. A new resource was created successfully. Okay, this is the response type. Created is the response type. Okay, that one. So like this, we will do all those things. For delete mapping also, we will get 200 okay only. Just instead of student, pass response entity student is the return type. Here instead of object, just pass response and the student object is the output return. For delete mapping, we no need to do anything. So that's about response entity class. And the last one is request mapping. Last one is request mapping. See, once observe this all URLs. First one is student. Next one is also student. Put mapping also we use student. For post mapping also we use student. Get mapping also we use student. In this get mapping also we use student. So all methods are used this student field. Okay, all methods are used this student fields. So instead of using all the methods, just use in class. Okay, ఈ class లో at the rate request mapping అని annotation యూజ్ చేసుకొని /student అని ఈ ఫీల్డ్ ఇచ్చేస్తే this class, inside the class we have multiple methods are there. Okay, this URL is applicable to all those methods. Okay, we no need to give here. Okay, here also we no need to give. Remove this all these fields URL. So the request mapping is class level annotation. When you want to use same URL everywhere in every method, at that time use @request mapping annotation. So inside that request mapping annotation, if we mentioned any URL and explain this. No need to give this student this repeated URL. Request mapping is the most common and widely used annotation in Spring Boot application. It is used to map web request onto specific handler classes and handler methods. So request mapping can be applied to the controller class as well as methods. So ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే it is used to map web requests. Okay, we are sending some requests. Here these all are requests. So it map this this with map this class level annotations to is this methods. Okay, this it map this class level annotation to class level request to method level request. Okay, is the most common and widely used annotation in Spring MVC. It is used to map web request onto specific handler or specific methods. అంటే మనం ఎట్ ది రిక్వెస్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్ యానోటేషన్ ఇచ్చి ఏ ఎండ్ పాయింట్, అది దీన్ని ఎండ్ పాయింట్ అంటారు, ఏ ఎండ్ పాయింట్స్ని అయితే పాస్ చేస్తారో ఈ ఎండ్ పాయింట్ అనేది ప్రతి మెథడ్కి అప్లికేబుల్ అవుద్ది. ఓకే, సో ఇక్కడ మనం స్టూడెంట్స్ అంటే ఎవ్రీ టైం స్టూడెంట్స్ స్టూడెంట్స్ గెట్ డేటా, మళ్ళీ స్టూడెంట్స్ ఐడి నేమ్, మళ్ళీ స్టూడెంట్స్ క్వరీ, స్టూడెంట్స్ క్రియేట్ స్టూడెంట్ అని ఎవ్రీ మెథడ్ రిపీట్ చేసే కన్నా ఇఫ్ యూ యానోటేటెడ్ మనం ఏంటంటే ఒక క్లాస్ లెవెల్లో స్ప్రింగ్ బూట్ కంట్రోలర్ క్లాస్లో స్ప్రింగ్ రెస్ట్ కంట్రోల్ క్లాస్లో అట్ ది రేట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ మ్యాపింగ్ అండ్ దిస్ ఎండ్ పాయింట్ పాస్ చేస్తే దిస్ ఎండ్ పాయింట్ ఈజ్ మ్యాప్డ్ టు ఆల్ స్పెసిఫిక్ methods. Okay, this endpoint is mapped to all specific methods. If you annotated a class with at the rate request mapping and pass any endpoints, that endpoint is applicable to all HTTP methods, all handler methods. So that's it about today class. If you have any doubt, ask me. Otherwise, in tomorrow class I will discuss about HTTP status codes and Spring Boot 3-layer architecture. Spring Boot 3-layer architecture is very, very important. Okay, if you have any doubts, ask me.